Imagine a California you've never seen. Before Hollywood, before Silicon Valley, just endless farmland under a relentless sun. And in those fields worked men who had crossed oceans for a new life. They were Punjabi Sikh farmers from northern India, driven out by British colonial rule, crushing taxes, and a future that offered them nothing back home. They arrived in California with empty pockets but rich traditions, believing hard work here could build the dreams denied to them there. With no fancy kitchens and almost none of the spices they grew up with, they cooked around campfires using whatever they could find and afford. Onions, lentils, corn, goat, rice. Transforming American farm ingredients into food that tasted like hope. History rarely tells their stories, but their flavors changed California forever. Because before California became a dream for the world, these men were already living it, one humble meal at a time. Tonight, we're uncovering 25 real foods they actually ate in those farming camps. These are recipes of struggle, spice, and survival you've never heard before. First up, lentil stew with tortillas. Picture a dusty California sunset, the air thick with the smell of sweat, soil, and simmering lentils. In the early 1900s, Punjabi farm workers would gather around tin pots after long days in the fields. They didn't have chaputis or basmati rice, just lentils, onions, and tortillas bought from their Mexican coworkers. And somehow, it worked. They called it dal, but out here, it became something new. The lentils boiled slow over a campfire until thick and rich, spiced with maybe cumin, maybe just salt and hope. You think of fusion food as fancy restaurants, but these men invented it out of hunger. Indian hands stirring American pots, tearing tortillas instead of chapatis. Proof that when you mix two struggles, you sometimes get something beautiful. Next, spiced chickpeas with cornbread. If the lentil stew was about blending survival, this dish was about friendship. Out in the Central Valley, Indian and African American laborers often worked side by side. The fields were long, the pay was short, but at the end of the day, food brought them together. One man might bring chickpeas from a worn burlap sack, boiled soft. Another would share cornbread baked over coals. Chickpeas were cooked down with onions, chilies, and a touch of lard instead of ghee, smoky, spicy, full of heart. The cornbread crumbled just enough to soak up every drop of that thick stew. It was comfort food without a name, where Indian masala met the southern hearth. Then there was goat curry with wild herbs. There were no grocery stores in the farming camps, just fields, animals, and whatever you could trade. So, when a worker got a goat, it was a celebration. It wasn't an everyday meal. It was a memory of home, reborn in the middle of California. They didn't have the usual Indian spices, but nature provided substitutes. Wild sage, mustard greens, and fennel from the fields added a strange, beautiful twist. The goat meat simmered low with onions, garlic, and crushed wild herbs, filling the air with a scent that turned that hard, dusty camp into something sacred.
Ow.
It was a mix of Punjab's fire and California's wilderness. In the camps, every grain mattered. Rice was precious and expensive. So the men learned to stretch it, and that how rice and pinto bean pilaf was born a clever blend of Indian comfort and California necessity. They'd fry onions in a dented pot, toss in a pinch of chili and cumin. Then came the pinto beans, borrowed from Mexican neighbors. Finally, the scarce rice, cooked until it all merged into one humble, fragrant meal. This dish didn't just feed bellies. It united communities who shared one pot, one spoon, one story. But what happened when they ran out of vegetables entirely? They turned sour milk into something unforgettable, buttermilk curry or cardi. When food supplies ran low, they whisked sour buttermilk with gram flour, salt, and chili powder, simmering it slowly. The sourness mellowed into something tangy and comforting. Poured over plain rice, it was a reminder that even spoiled milk could become something worth sharing. There was also fried onion flatbread, just cornmeal, wheat flour, and salt, kneaded with calloused hands. They rolled it thin, sprinkled chopped onions on top, and laid it on a smoking skillet. The edges crisped, the onions caramelized, and the air filled with a sweetness that could make a laborer forget his aching back. Every bite was a bridge between two worlds, one of memory, the other of survival. By midsummer, the fields were bursting with corn. The workers would pull fresh ears from the stalks and roast them on open coals. When done, they'd rub them with chili powder and salt, a trick learned from their Mexican friends. That first bite was magic: the heat of the chili, the sweetness of the corn, the crunch of charred kernels. It was California meeting India on a stick. When pay was late, they made cabbage and potato stir-fry. They'd slice the cabbage thin, cube the potatoes small, and fry it all in an iron pan. A pinch of cumin, maybe some black pepper. The scent was sharp, earthy, and familiar. Even with empty pockets, these men refused to eat without flavor. On cold nights, they made masala khichdi, a spiced lentil porridge. Rice and lentils tossed into a single pot, bubbled until everything melted together. A dash of turmeric, a little chili. It was creamy, golden, and easy to share medicine for the spirit. And when a chicken made its way into camp, it was like striking gold. They made stewed chicken with onions and chilies. They'd brown the chicken in tallow, tossing in onions and crushed chilies to make a thin, fiery broth. They ate straight from the pot, dipping torn flatbread into a smoky, spicy stew that burned a little but healed a lot. These Indian immigrants didn't just plant fields, they planted flavors. Their food told stories of loneliness softened by spice, of hunger turned into invention, and of cultures quietly blending over fire and friendship. Each pot of stew, each fried bread, each sip of salted lassi whispered the same truth: survival can still taste like home. Their legacy lives on in every bite of curry rice, every tortilla dipped in spice, and every shared meal that bridges worlds. They built more than farms. They built belonging. Thank you so much for watching and uncovering this hidden piece of history with us. If you enjoyed this story, please give this video a like and subscribe for more content just like this. See you in the next one.